Now, there are two types of chemical reactions. The first one is called an exothermic chemical reaction. Now, for exo, you just need to look at the first part of the word and it means exo. Exo means outside, and thermic is related to heat energy. But yeah, anyways, exothermic means outside. So the thing about exothermic reactions is that it releases energy to the outside. It releases more energy than it absorbs. So the bonds broken, the reactants bonds that are broken have higher bond energy, which means that it's harder to break the energy than the new bonds formed in the products. So the products actually have a lower bond energy than the reactants. And for exothermic reactions, the amount of energy that is released is usually released in a form of either heat or in a form of light. And one example of this is cellular respiration. And the thing about this is that it breaks down in order to create and to release energy. And so exothermic reaction is a form of dissimulation, which is releasing energy. And one example of dissimulation is fireflies. So fireflies, they give out light. They release it. They release the energy in the form of light. So the next chemical reaction is the exact opposite of exothermic reactions. It's called endo, and endo means inside. Now, endothermic reactions actually absorb more energy. So it's exactly completely the opposite of exothermics. Instead of releasing more energy, they absorb more energy. And since they absorb more energy, the reactants have a lower bond energy and products have higher bond energy. It's you just need to flip exo from endo. And so the energy is absorbed, so the outside temperature decreases while the inside temperature increases. While for exothermic, the outside temperature is a temperature that increases. An example of this is photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis, it actually absorbs energy. It combines energy in order to absorb nutrients. And endothermic reaction is assimilation. So it absorbs energy, it takes it in. And the example that I used before is very similar. Photosynthesis. They create energy in order to absorb nutrients. So endothermic reactions are the exact opposite of exothermic reactions. And think about energy. Energy happens when molecules become unstable. When they start moving around, the bonds between these molecules start to become weaker and weaker. That's why the molecules become unstable. Now, transition state, if you see on this graph, this is the transition state. It's the place where the transition starts to happen. The transition is when the reactants goes up, 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 and it starts to become the products. And this here is a transition state. However, the amount of energy needed to reach this transition state, that quality. Anyways, the amount of energy needed from reactants to reach the transition state up here, this amount of energy is called activation energy. So in order to find the activation energy, all you need to do is subtract the transition state from the reactants, and then you'll find this part, which is the activation energy. So stable molecules that don't move around much, they have lower energy. But as they start moving around and doing stuff, they start to gain more and more energy. Both exothermic and endothermic reactions requires energy. However, the thing that's different about them is that, as you see here, exothermic reaction, it absorbs this much energy in order for it to reach its transition state, but it also releases this much energy. However, for endothermic reactions, it absorbs it it needs a lot of activation energy. It releases only a little bit, and this much energy is actually the energy that is absorbed. So the difference between exothermic reactions and endothermic reactions is that endothermic reactions here, they absorb energy, and here they release energy. Exo is out, endo is in. So exo, it goes out, endo, it goes in. And that's the end of 2.5